What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Football Game Day Squad Show, round 6 show, I guess, brought to you by the Game Day Society. I'm joined here by Zonald Basin. Once again, he served his 1-week suspension after picking Stash as his player of the round. How you been, Zon?
Good. I took him out the next round, and then he proceeded to score an assist.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
With
one of the top
beauty of a
scorers,
free
wasn't
kick.
he?
Yeah.
Nah, that's the nature of the game, unfortunately. Now, in terms of last round, how are we sitting?
Overall, I'm doing still all right. Like, I've had 2 poor rounds, I'd say, back to back, which must mean that a lot of people did if I managed to maintain like top 10 in my comps that I'm in.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think pretty similar. It seemed like a pretty standard kind of thing last round, especially with all those defenders not getting clean sheets. There was like hardly any clean sheets, and it felt like it. I took it personally because I wasn't getting them, but then like no one was because there's only like 2 teams or whatever it was that actually got it. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, but keen to put that all behind us, talk about the next one. In saying that though, just want to run through a couple of quick things that we may have learnt from, I guess, last round, and what we can take going forward. What I've done is I've gone the good, the bad, and what we've discovered. So from last round, for me personally, the good was Haaland converting in probably one of the toughest fixtures for forwards, which for me, it was probably never in doubt, but it just shows that floor is there with his scores. Like, we don't have to be thinking about, bringing him out for certain fixtures. He generally should be fixture proof, but then there's so many other good forward options that you're like, oh, he's fixture proof, but then there's other people who are like going to go boom in this fixture. So for me now, I think Haaland is just going to sit at my forward one for the rest of the season as long as he plays. What about you?
Yeah, so I've got Foden's. He's finally back in the starting 11 consistently. Like last year, he ran into injury troubles, personal troubles apparently, and just couldn't nail down a spot or form. So when he's playing at his best, last time he did that, he won Player of the Year. So it's good to have him as a clear option there if he's going to start every game.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely trying to chase down a Foden. If anyone's got one, hit me up. What about the bad? The bad for me is probably, I think it hurt quite a few people. Sanchez red card in the 5th minute, I think it was, which a bit of a brain fade. I know how you feel about Sanchez. Are you hoping that kind of opens up the door to him just missing out on the rest of the season?
Maybe like Jorgensen might. Just depends how he goes. He might go all right and then keep his spot. I felt it was a bit of a 50-50 at the start of the season, but it seems Maresca thinks it's more of like a 80-20 in Sanchez's favour.
Well,
Just to top. Oh, you go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think he served his ban in the Cup, so Sanchez technically could be back this week.
Yeah, it could be, yeah, for sure. We'll see if Jorgensen does.
Yeah, well, after what I think the coach, the manager was saying about how he would have preferred to just concede the goal rather than take the red, it kind of makes me feel like maybe Sanchez is not in good favour anymore. Yeah. But for you, the bad was Cole Palmer.
Yeah, just on Sanchez really quickly, he parting gift to me, the player that was fouled and would have rounded him and scored was Embramo, who I had an all-star version of my classic of. So that was even better. But on Palmer, from what I've seen, when he got subbed as the person who was subbed out pretty quickly after the red card, I think Esteval might have been the person who got subbed out for it. He seemed to be holding the same area that he had injured, so he might be re-injured. If he's not, it's good for this round. He tends to play well against Brighton. Last time they played at Chelsea's home against him, he scored 4 goals. So he's sort of a must-have if he starts, but you're risking him.
That's the thing. If he starts, he might still only play like 20 minutes again. So,
or he might just come off the bench. I don't think he's going to outright miss.
No, fair. And then we've got what we've discovered. So picking clean sheets is huge. We, for the first few rounds, were kind of blessed, I guess, with a bunch of clean sheets from probably predictable clean sheets. Whereas last round, it just felt, there was only was it 2 or 3 in the end?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was only the two. I think it was the Newcastle and Bournemouth game, just their defenses.
Yeah. So if you pick those players, you're well ahead of everyone else, and that's probably going to put you on the leader, like high up on the leaderboard, purely from those players. So picking those fixtures is probably as important as picking the goals, I would say. What did you discover?
Oh, Grealish just seems. So you got your Bruno Fernandes, you got Haaland. Maybe you could include Salah in there, but like just the Haaland, because he scores goals pretty much every game. Fernandez's play style, much like Grealish, as we've found out now, leads to he's probably going to get points every week regardless. So you can pick him safely, and then if he scores or he assists on top of it, he's probably going to be one of the better players for the round.
Yeah.
The reason for that is like he's playing Liverpool, so he's still Everton played in a way I thought they were going to play the complete opposite, low block, but they took it to Liverpool, which meant Grealish could play his natural game, which means they're probably going to do it with everyone. And he I don't see a fullback in the league that can match against his dribbling ability. They're going to foul him constantly, which is points for him. He's going to round them with successful dribbles, so then he's getting points from that. Key passes, passer too.
He's just a very fallible player, isn't he? Yeah. Like he's, the skill wise, but then also just, I guess, the personality that almost goes with it, that you want to cut him down anyway. So it's a win-win for fantasy, or for GameDay squad from our side. But yeah, I really like that take. Let's just jump straight into it. Hey, we'll get through the fixtures because obviously there's a lot of footy on tonight, big game on tomorrow in the AFL. So we just want to get through these to make sure that everyone is kind of as prepared as possible for the lockout tomorrow, because we know there's going to be a lot going on tomorrow. Yep. So first game kickoff 9:30 tomorrow night, Brentford versus Man United. Looking at these stats, Brentford, they don't necessarily concede too many more points than average. So we can probably look at these Man United players just on par with their average, I'd say. Is there anyone that's tempting you from that Man United side?
So, as I mentioned last time I was on, I do a little stat sheet for conceded statistics for every one of the categories. Brentford have I think 3 or 4 that they're top 5 for in the league of conceding, and Dorgu's 3 or 4 of those for Man United in the top 3. So purely off the stats, here's an option. I know he's been rotated out of the squad at points, but I think that was for Dallo, and I think Dallo's currently out injured. So if you feel like United can get a clean sheet in this one, you're probably going to get a fairly decent score from Dorgu just off of his other stuff that he would do as well.
Yeah, we're looking at Dorgu's numbers. He's gone 17 and 18 in the last 2 rounds. So that's good numbers.
So there's a good point of difference. And they've conceded in those games as well. So, and that's what these statistics are meant to show. I haven't shared the sheet. I just use it to write the reviews and stuff for people. But in terms of raw numbers, it matches up with what the stats are showing, that without keeping clean sheets, he can still put together a really good score.
Mm-hmm. No, and then Bruno in the squad every week from George there. I think that's a great shout. I think we've talked about that a few times. He's just one of those, no matter what way the game's going, he's going to find ways to get points based on how he plays. What about Buemo? Now,
I like him.
Yeah. You like him this week?
Yeah, I like most of the attackers in this game. When I was doing research for the reviewed article, which is probably going to drop some point tonight.
Oh, yes.
With this game in particular, I feel like this was one of the ones where there hadn't been a clean sheet or there'd been 1 or 2 clean sheets in the last 10 games. So that, along with the fact Brentford are yet to not score in a game this season, so they've scored in every single game, means that I think the attackers are going to be really good for this game. I reckon there'll be quite a few goals.
Yeah. Now, looking at Brentford's kind of lineup here. Sorry, I'm just getting up their numbers. There's not a whole heap of big scorers there, apart from Damsgaard. So I think, would he be the only one that you would be considering?
Yeah, Dango seems to be out of favour. They've got him starting in the predicted lineup. I don't think he will. because I don't think they're going to play with that formation. Shard, I reckon he'll play wide, and I think he's an option. He scored 2 last time they played each other, or last time at Brentford. So he'll be an option for them. I think he's had injury troubles to start the year. But apart from that, Thiago's their striker. He does all right, but I think he might struggle against De Ligt.
Yeah, I think with like limited spots to pick players, it's probably not the guys to be looking at. Jumping through to the next one. So we've got a bunch of the midnight games game. Chelsea versus Brighton. Now, Chelsea is probably the big one with a lot of talking points here. Sanchez, do you take a punt on him? It looks like the goalkeepers, like playing a goalkeeper against Brighton is a favourable option in terms of the numbers. But then he's playing Sanchez with the risk of not having Sanchez there. Is that worth it?
I don't like him. I think there's way better keepers this week.
I mean, I know you don't like him, but
this matchup, it's interesting because Brighton's won the last 2 games. Both of them have been at Brighton, though. They've got a decent enough history against Chelsea. I think it's another one of those matchups where there's not many clean sheets that happen historically. Yep. Albeit I think there's more when it's at Chelsea. So you could go for Chelsea defenders here. Minte, I think, scored twice last time they played. So he's one I'm looking at because I've mentioned it a few times over the weeks. I don't rate the Chelsea defense without Colwill.
Yep. Yeah. Looking at the numbers, though, like Chalobah, his lowest score is a 10.25 for the whole season. He's gone 13.75, 18.75, 23.75, 10.25, and 17. And there's been goals there as well. So it's not like that's writing clean sheet bonuses. Is he starting to get to like the fixture-proof defender, even if you don't like the Chelsea defenders?
A little bit. Like he plays in a similar way to Van Dijk. Like as their ball playing roams around the defense, sort of, you can tell he's the one that plays like with everyone on his shoulders, sort of thing. Yeah. Which is interesting because Colwill plays the same way, and Maresca at the start of the season said Tosson's the only one who can play in a similar way. So I think Chalobah's the one that's doing that.
Yeah.
Be close.
Yeah. And Melissa in the chat there. So Sanchez served his one-band game during a cup game that they had midweek. So he is free to play. It's just whether he'll be selected, I guess. Would it be a viable option to pick both Chelsea keepers, have one as your emergency, and then kind of guarantee one of them playing?
Yeah, if you really want to go to Chelsea, that's exactly what I'd do with the emergency system. Same with like the Man City situation. If you're at all worried that Donnarumma's going to be rotated out for a game with Trafford, then pick Trafford as the emergency, start Donnarumma, or do the reverse.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And we talked about Palmer a little bit at the start. The predicted lineups from Fantasy Footy Scouts don't have him in there. It's been such a weird kind of reporting on Palmer. Like no one knows what's going on. Like is it like something that carried through from, I guess, because did it happen at like the Club World Cup, not the Club World Cup.
I think so. Cup? I'm pretty sure it happened there because Maresca, when he got pulled out of the warm-up and missed the game, he said he's been carrying it for a while, and then they tried to get him through the warm-up, didn't work, took him off. Then he missed the games, came back, and it looks like, I think it's a calf. I think he's redone that. Yeah. But yeah, like we can't always trust these lineups 100%. They do a really good job. I think they have him as 75% likely to play. So on the higher end of things, I think the press conferences are today, like ongoing as we speak. So we might get a bit more information, albeit like some of the managers you just can't trust.
Yeah, no, agreed. How Pedro? Great season first at Chelsea. Is this a fixture for him, or do you see too many other kind of good options?
I like playing players against their old clubs because I feel like they fire up a bit more. It might mean he gets an extra foul or two there, but He's an informed player, so he's definitely part of the 10 or 15 players you'd be looking at to fill the forward gaps you have.
That's the thing with especially this. Like, so last round, it didn't feel like there were that many good matchups. This week, it does feel like there are good matchups. So
for sure. This week seems to be a struggle with the defense. I personally had a lot of trouble, and I'm still not set on my defense.
Yeah, I'm like after last week though, my defense is like I'm not even going to probably worry too much about the matchup because it didn't matter last week. So let's head on to the next one. Crystal Palace and Liverpool. So just bring up Janet's comment here as a Liverpool fan. So Sanchez did the opposite to Ekitike, where he got the red card in the cup match for taking his shirt off for a second yellow or something dumb like that.
It was stupider than Sanchez's.
Yep. But yes, in a cup. But then when you got Isak kind of lingering over your shoulder, you don't want to be doing stuff like that. So interesting timing.
Well, Slot actually had his press conference right before he started the live stream, at least the start of it, and they asked about Isak. He said he's ready to play more minutes. But he then said, like, we're at a certain stage of where his preseason is where I would personally pay 60 to 70 minutes for a player, because if you go to 90 because you need him this week too, then maybe down the track it leads to a further injury. So he's probably going to start, even though he's not in the lineup on screen, and then he's probably going to be subbed out at about 60, 70th minute.
Yeah. So against a Crystal Palace backline, I don't think there's much point playing a forward for 70 minutes when they're so solid back there. But speaking of that Crystal Palace backline, is there any temptation to drop them? They've been so reliable for us all season, but then you look at the numbers, defenders negative 3.37. What's going on?
I dropped them all.
Dropped them all. Wow.
So, from memory, a lot of the Palace backline rely on the clean sheet to do really, really well. They might still get some like 7s, 8s and stuff. Like Muniz is good because he can assist given his role down that side. But against a team like Palace, given how good they performed this year, are good to play in most fixtures. I just wouldn't be doing it against Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, maybe those three, maybe a couple more teams. And some people will. Some people will just either look at the sort by average and put them in. Some people will say, I played them last week, they were good. So you'll get a fair few players still play them. But it could come back to bite a lot of people this week if Liverpool do score, which I'd bank on it. There been goals for probably both teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess on this graphic here, we talked about how they're not super accurate, but they've got Wirtz as a striker going into this fixture.
Yeah, he can play there. I think he looked all right when he came on wide last week. But I think it'll be Isak starting. Not sure what the midfield's going to look like. Wirtz might get dropped to the bench again.
And then could you swing Gakpo into a striker kind of role, or I don't know.
So he's played striker before, and he did it a lot in his first year with us. But he's way better out wide. Last year he swapped in game in moments with Diaz, and it was all right. But if he's just stationed at striker, he just doesn't compete well against the centre backs, just someone as big as he is.
And the other one that I've got a question mark over this game is Van Dijk. He has had a lot of those defensive contribution stats that they kind of tick up. It's kind of been a little bit misleading though with that round one performance where he just went absolutely crazy with 20 something.
That makes sense now though, because Bournemouth have a habit from looking at the stats of conceding aerial duel wins. So a little bit of an outlier, but he does still get relatively decent amounts of defensive stats. I worry about the matchup in this one. Big man versus big man. I know Kanate is probably going to shoulder Mateta most of the time and let Van Dijk roam, but that's probably going to mean that Mateta and Kanate compete in the air for the any balls that come down.
Yeah, I think I currently have him in my side, but it's kind of almost between him and maybe one of the Crystal Palace defenders for me, which is probably not a great position to be in when I'm not sure I like either of the options. But yeah, we'll see. Right, we'll jump forward to the next one. Leeds and Bournemouth. So Bournemouth have quite a few relevant players, which is probably like a newer thing for them. There's, uh, Evan Nilsson, Semenyo, and then Senesi down back as well now is a very viable option. Like Semenyo he's just been so consistent as almost like the player of the season in terms of like fantasy side of things.
For sure. He's like fixture proof as well. Even like last week he obviously didn't score. I think he still did all right in terms of he put like a 7.5 out, I think. Maybe 9.5. So like he's fine to pick every week too, just because of how he plays and what he does. And like he's like Grealish, probably scares opponents into fouling him or lets him run through. He's got the pace to get the successful dribbles, right? So
yeah, so it was 7.5 last week, but before that it was a 28, 13.5, 10.5, 29. So we know that ceiling is there, and it's like again that was against a number of different kind of calibers of teams. So yeah, I think he's one of those ones that probably is getting close to a set and forget, but again, with Haaland already in the set and forget position, you then kind of eaten up all your positions. So I really like him. I think he's a good option this week, especially against Leeds. But do you like any of those Leeds options?
It's an interesting game because a lot of people are going to go and pick a lot of Bournemouth players. And I had Semenyo. I changed him out for Minte. I might put him back. I like Trafford. I like Senesi. A lot of people are after Senesi this week. So Bournemouth played 10 games against Leeds. And that's historically, I know Leeds have been in and out of the Premier League. Bournemouth used to be in and like down in the Championship and stuff. But in those 10 games, Bournemouth have never kept a clean sheet against Leeds, which when there's data like that, it worries me picking defenders. So I think I'll end up taking Bournemouth defenders out. Different situation because Bournemouth's a really established and good Premier League team now. But on the flip side of that, Leeds have been pretty decent to start the season, particularly defensive. Roden comes out really well in the stats. Goodmanson, even with that own goal, comes out really well every week. So this could end up being another 0-0. Maybe Leeds do what they did to Everton, I think it was, and snatch a 1-0 win against someone they're not expected to. Then they've got home advantage too. So I don't mind Leeds defense. It's just, and it's a tricky week to pick defenders. So maybe I end up going down that route. But I think a lot of people will pick Bournemouth defenders. And, I think them and Semenyo will be the popular ones from this game.
Yeah. I actually don't mind Calvert-Lewin as a bit of a smoky in this game as well.
Yeah.
I think I even had him in my top 5 forward options this week, which is a bit of a probably more towards the pod end of that. But still a little sneaky one. And what about Stash?
So his Stash is pretty good every week. Like, I don't think he was very high up in the stats categories for my spreadsheet this week, probably because most of the stats Bournemouth concede aren't relevant to what he does. So it might be a week to avoid. People might pick him because it's not that bad a matchup, and he did really well last week. So still pickable. On Calvert-Lewin as well, the other thing for this game, good in the air, one of his main tricks, if only trick. And Bournemouth, as I mentioned before, struggle and concede aerial duels. So he's probably going to pick up at least a fair few points from those aerial duels.
Yeah, nice. Beautiful. We'll keep pushing forward to the next one. Up next, we have City and Burnley. So this is probably the one of the best fixtures for Haaland, I think.
Yeah.
Even though like the forward stats don't necessarily say that against Burnley, I think their XG is like expected conceded goals is up there with the highest, if not the highest. And Haaland is, even if he doesn't play the full game, I think he's just going to absolutely monster it. Is that I don't think that's controversial, is it?
No, not at all. The one thing that just came back in my head from last week that I read, and I forgot where I read it, but apparently Pep said, because I think Haaland got subbed off early last week, and I'm pretty sure Pep said along the lines of he's struggling a touch at the moment, so that's why they sort of managed him at the end. I highly doubt, given the position they're currently in the table, they're going to go dropping him at the start. I think it's more he'll start from the get-go if they are in a comfortable position, which is probably off the back of him anyway. Yeah. Then he'll get subbed out a bit earlier.
Yeah, so, I think I heard somewhere that in the last 4 of the last 6 fixtures in this, City have won 5-0. So I think there's going to be a lot of goals, and Haaland's obviously.
So here's a few stats from this game in particular. So City have scored 35 goals in their past 10 games against Burnley, and they've only conceded 2 in that period.
Yeah, okay. So load up on City defenders and Haaland, maybe some of those midfielders as well, because every goal generally needs an assist. So
yeah. So if anybody finds out how to get 4 versions of Haaland in the team, then let me know.
Cal, you're in the chat.
So Haaland, obviously, if you've got him, play him. Worst case, a lot of people are going to play him, so you're not missing out on much. If the higher the version, the better, because if everyone's playing him, you're going to get that multiplier difference and benefit for points. It's a good thing about a player everyone's playing. Go the highest version you possibly can. Doku, I'm hoping he starts. He's been arguably their best player in the past couple of games. He, again, when he's on, he plays similar to Grealish, but more based off his speed. Heaps of successful dribbles, beats opponents, probably going to get fouled because he's pacier than most fullbacks, and he's a half-decent passer when he gets into the box. He's pretty smart and technical. So I like him as a pick. He's one where Madoika had a game like it a couple of weeks ago. A couple of wingers have where in the first half they just blow the opposition defender away, and they've already got a great score in the first half, 13, 14 points. So they're already ahead of where you need them to be.
What I like about the Doku kind of play is that by the time he gets in the box, he's already an extra couple of paces ahead of anyone else would be, which gives him a couple of a fraction of a second more to kind of hit up that pass. And then you've got Haaland, obviously, who's just always in the right spot. So it's just a dream combo. Now, Foden.
Yeah, Foden and Reinders. I'll put them together because they both should start based off of form. And we'll go back to the comment I made about City being in the league position they currently are. So I doubt they're not going to try to throw everything at Burnley. If they're on top of the table or second or third, they probably rest a few players here. But I reckon they start with their most creative team because of the Burnley likely low block coming. They tend to play it better than Liverpool do, so I'm not too worried about City not being able to break through. And the earlier the better, because then it's more likely Burnley come out of it and then City can score more and more, which usually happens in this fixture. Reinders, very creative player. He's shown it through every single week. Scored relatively well. I think the games he hasn't has just been games where they've been shut down in the midfield. Or he's mistimed his passes. He had a shocker against Brighton, I think it was. And you could tell, you could watch him and he wasn't doing anything right. I think the formation they've got is going to be a bit off. I think they're going to play what they've been doing, which is the 4-1 with Rodri as the Holden, 4 across, and then Haaland up there. Albeit, I think most of these players. Yeah. Except Silva might be in for Bob. Silva's been favoured recently. Although I think Bob's a great player.
Yeah, true. Now that back line, so we haven't spoken about them too much yet, and we're pretty much penciling in may as well put it in pen, the clean sheet here. My only problem with the City defense is that who's going to be there?
Yeah, and that's what the issue I have too. So Vardiel should be there because he can play left back, he can play centre back. My only concern is because he's come back from injury, he might get rotated out just to rest up. So it's a slight risk, but I think most people plan on playing Vardiel anyway. He'll likely come on, though, I think, if he doesn't start. However, since Aït-Nouri's out, I'm pretty certain Vardiel will start. But the main thing I have, and he's in my team at the moment, is the whole he has to play the full game to get the clean sheet. And someone who's come back from injury, I'm going to have to check if he played last game the full 90, and if he didn't, he might get out of my team. Because, that worries me, especially if they're up by a heap. They'll probably just rotate players who've had injury troubles out.
Yeah, it's a great shout. And obviously, Donnarumma going to be the keeper of choice and clean sheet. The only thing is, will he actually have anything to do to get those?
So, exactly, spot on. If you have him, you're probably going to play him. I think it's just the whole access to him. Now, we've seen so far that a lot of the 50-50 matchups tend to have the better keepers because they concede shots, but they still keep the clean sheet. So the worry, as you just mentioned, is that Alisson had it against Burnley where he did absolutely nothing outside of keeping the clean sheet. So he got 10 points, the 8 for the clean sheet and 2 for the minutes played. So just be as long as they keep the clean sheet, the worst you should get is 10 from him.
Yeah,
unless he gets
that's potentially enough anyway, really, because it's a low risk 10 points, whereas it could be, in those closer games where you might go high, you might also lose that clean sheet. So,
especially if we have a week like last week where nobody's keeping them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Donnarumma's number one keeper, number one target. If you have him, you're potentially going to be a bit of a unique pick as well. So get him in. Right, pushing forward. We'll move on to the Forest versus Sunderland game. Now, I don't know. Like, Anderson's been all right. Who else? Wood. I don't know if I rate Wood at the moment.
Wood might not even play because what's his name? Igor has been in some pretty good form in the cup games and the European games. So it could be a whole thing of Postecoglou goes, well, he's been playing well under me, so he's going to start now and you're going to go to the bench. Which is what happened with Hudson-Odoi Backwa overtook him because he was playing so well.
Yeah. So I guess and Sunderland haven't been too bad in terms of
one of the better defensive teams.
Exactly. So it's probably a lose-lose playing Wood, even though he's probably one of the better strikers in the comp, I'd say. Is there anyone else in this? This seems like a bit of a nothing fixture.
No, I like this matchup.
Oh, geez. Okay. Go on.
So, like I said, a lot of people are going to be high on the Bournemouth fixture and Leeds fixture. I'm going to be high on this one. So I don't mind Sells as a play because Sunderland tend to set up with more defensively. They've been really good in defence. So I think it could be a 0-0 in this game. They played pretty well against Villa last week with a red card too and played in that sort of cagey game where it might have been 0-0 in that too. So I don't mind Sells. He's probably not going to get as many shots against him as Royce. And a lot of people, I think that's how you pronounce it, a lot of people played Royce last week and were high on him. I wasn't too high on him. I reckon they would have done really well without that red card, obviously. That sort of screwed him up because he was looking really good. So I currently have him in my team along with Donnarumma because I think I think they'll keep the clean sheet against Forest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Even with Ange Ball?
Yeah, and even if they don't, the way Forest now play under Ange, they're going to concede a lot of shots and he saves quite a few. So I think his points are going to be up regardless.
Yeah, nice. You might have actually sold me just then. That's some great points.
I even like the defense. I really like the Sunderland defense because, again, they've looked pretty good in the stats. They've been a good team defensive this year. I've got Mukiele in my team. He's in GameDay squad as Muller, I think it is, Muller, something like that. So he won't come up when you actually type Mukiele in. Hume's another good one. The only reason I'm a bit iffy on any of the defense is because Ballard's back from injury, which could shift things around as they've gotten the predicted lineup. Mukele's been playing centre back. He'll shift out to right back, which he can play really well. Ballard and their Shims swapping sides, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know if Cal's in the chat. Do you know if Williams is right to start playing yet? In terms of the...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It looks like what happened was Williams and other Williams just needed to be swapped around. So one was identified as the other, and then so sweet. I think it's all done.
Amazing. Well, what about I really like Zinchenko, just because I feel like he's just that.
Still an Arsenal player though.
Yeah, I know, but he's like, I had him in my 5-a-side last week against you that we picked, and like they called it as an own goal Zinchenko, and I was like, oh no, here we go.
Then they brought it back.
Yeah, and you had, I think, Richards in who scored, so it was like a big swing. But anyway, we'll push on. Okay, Spurs versus Wolves. Now, we've been talking about the City fixture being a big one. I like this Spurs fixture almost as much, just because it's probably the more reliable picks that are still going to do well. So, like with City, there's so many good players, but we're not quite sure which ones are going to play and how many minutes they're going to get. With Spurs, there's kind of a bit more kind of concrete around who we're starting. So, like Richarlison's obviously probably Haaland sub in there. I mean, not comparable, but you know what I mean. They're like both going to play. They're both going to sit up forward. They're going to be the goal scorers.
Yep.
You've got Kudus. You've got now Simmons as well, who I'm thinking plays 90 minutes. I don't know about you.
Hopefully, at least have to get rotated out.
Yeah, well, sorry, starts is what I guess I mean. And then that back line as well is just, pretty much a lock. The only thing, and I think you mentioned it to me earlier, is that Porro is not listed on this predicted lineup. How much?
Yeah, which is weird.
That?
Yeah, but I feel like they got this
reason.
Yeah, I think it's just rotational because they didn't list him on the injury suspension or anything. I'm pretty sure last week they got this lineup wrong where they had. I got to check if Udogie played because I'm pretty sure they had Udogie in with Porro, and then I think Spence still played, so they predicted that Udogie rotated in. So I think that's all they're doing here, except it's with Porro.
Yeah.
I've got him in my team right now, Porro, but I'll have to do some more digging to see if he's likely to miss or not, because he's the sort of player that will come off the bench, so you won't be able to emergency someone in, which you really don't want.
Yeah. And in terms of like a Porro/Romero kind of option, if you're looking to maybe bring one of the Spurs defenders in, they're probably, would you say they're the two that you'd be looking at, and which one would be your preference?
For sure. Like if like all things even, I would choose Van de Ven over Romero, but it's not even. Romero's the captain. How many times does a captain get subbed out of a game? So that's why I like Romero. He's probably going to play the full game as long as he starts. So worst case, if you got Porro, maybe it's safer to go to Romero. They do have Danzo, who's a really good centre back, as their third choice, so maybe they rotate those two. But I think this early in the season, you just stick with what's working, Romero and Van de Ven.
Yeah, and what I quite like about Romero as well is now they've got so many creative players in that midfield, set pieces. He's going to be like a real threat in that. You got like Simmons, like Kudus is like whipping him in everywhere. I think he's probably going to be one of the higher goal scoring defenders this season. I don't know. That might be
agreed.
A centre backs anyway.
Yeah, he does a lot of good things in the air.
Yeah, Wolves probably no one. Is that fair to say?
So you know what the funny thing is in this fixture? Spurs haven't beat Wolves. Wolves are undefeated in the last 5 games against them. That's a better way to word it. So Spurs haven't won in the past 5 against them.
That's Do you see that continuing?
I don't think. It's like the Leeds and Bournemouth one. Like historical data is probably not going to be relevant given the situations. So like Spurs are probably going to beat them in terms of home. Last 5 games, Spurs have won 2 out of the 5. So it's a bit better when you're at Spurs. It's interesting, and I'm pretty sure there's been a decent amount of goals either side in these games.
Yeah, no, I I think this is, I think I'm probably putting Curtis ahead of Simmons just
Yeah.
because I feel like there's probably more reliability around minutes there. And he just, did you watch any of the Spurs games? He's just taking
Destroys
on,
people.
he just destroys them.
It's like Doku.
Yeah. So I really like that. Sweet. Through to the next one. We're on to the early Sunday game. The first Sunday game. Aston Villa and Fulham. Now, Aston Villa have been probably one of the most disappointing sides this season. I think it's fair to say, just in terms of their lack of goals, and is it Cash is their only goal scorer? Is that right? Who's playing it right back, and or did they get a couple? Can't remember.
I think that's right. Like there definitely hasn't been that many, and which is interesting given you have one of the better strikers in the league, who has looked on form. It's just he's had no supply. And then you've got one of the more creative players in Rodgers in the team, who, arguably has had one of his worst seasons.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the Villa games? Because
teams just shut them down. It's like they have no space. And then Tillemans is out on top of that. He wasn't doing that well anyway. But, yeah.
Yeah, and Elliot, I think, kind of makes it a bit better, but still, not really doing much.
Pretty rough. It reads as like one of those teams when they score, the floodgates are open. But do you want to bet on this being the game where they score?
Yeah, I think that's the case. And with Fantasy Premier League, a lot of people started with him, took him out. The good thing about GameDay squad is you don't have that issue. So you can just make a mistake in round one and you're like, okay, I've learnt. I'm not going to make that mistake again. In terms of Fulham, I think I've got Leno in my side because I really like this matchup, especially, based on those numbers, 7.93 above the average for keepers, and the average is not that high. So you're looking at almost double the average score when you're playing against Aston Villa. And Leno's been good. He's been one
really of the better keepers. Yeah. Ever since he was at Arsenal, he's looked good. In this Fulham team, he's been one of their better players.
Yeah.
So not to scare you out of Leno. I think Leno's a good pick and stuff. This is just again a historical stat that's interesting. Villa have won the past 6 fixtures between these two.
You're right.
And Watkins has 4 goals in his past 5 against Fulham.
Oh, don't say that.
Past 5 league games. There's a cup game between that he didn't score in either.
Yeah, and now he's only scoring in cup games. So I don't think anyone should be starting Watkins until he something changes in that side. But it is interesting, and it's going to come is the thing. We all know it's going to come at some point. So now you have scared me out of Leno.
It's just interesting because I'll have to go double check, but I don't think it's even draws. It's just 6 wins.
Jeez. Nah, nice. Anyone else from Fulham or Aston Villa? I guess.
Yeah, but again, you can probably ignore historical given the form Villa's in right now. In terms of that, I don't mind Leno. Tete's really good in terms of stats. It's just Tete worries me. I don't think that's not Robinson's side, but I feel like they could rotate that around still. But I think he's played most of the 90s, Tete. So he's an interesting one. A good point of difference. Anderson, pretty good. Does a lot of defensive contribution stuff, so gets some points anyway. And the matchup against Watkins, he's probably pretty good against those sorts of people. I know he used to get under Darwin Núñez's skin, and I think Watkins and Núñez are similar sorts of molds of players.
Yeah. Nah, good shout. All right, we'll keep pushing forward because we've got a few more.
Actually, I forgot as well. Lukic is insane in terms of the stats that Villa have been conceding. Okay. Only thing that scares me off of Lukic is he's really high for their key passes as well. So he gets a lot of their creates a lot of their play for Fulham. Interesting means Iwobi's playing further up, so he's supplying him. but Lukic concedes a lot of free kicks. I think he's averaging like 4 frees against per game. So that's automatic 4 points you're losing. So that's why I don't want to pick him.
Yeah. No. Fair. All right. Push on. Newcastle, Arsenal. Now, Arsenal have a few selection kind of conundrums. Well, we have some conundrums about Arsenal, I guess is a better way of putting it. Because Saka is likely going to be back this week. In fact, probably has to be back this week. And then what does that mean for Gyökeres?
Yeah, it should just be more goals for him, to be honest, because Saka's very creative and like just beats defenders like a lot of other people. Like he's not like Doku or Kudus in the way of beating them. He's like very technically gifted and smart in the way he beats defenders.
Yeah.
And he should start, I reckon, because Madueke, I think, is out for 2 months.
Yeah.
So don't play him, by the way.
And it kind of feels like he's like forced to play like decent minutes as well. So on the other side, you've also got Eze, who is he just like a lock kind of Arsenal player now, or do you think they're still kind of working him in a little bit?
Did he start last week? That was Eze, right?
Yeah.
Did he start last week?
I think he did.
I thought Trossard, for some reason, I thought Trossard started. I think he should be playing every week, and the benefit to him is he can play I reckon he can play Odegaard's position. So I think he's across multiple positions. He should be useful to Arsenal. I prefer it in a better fixture. I think Newcastle's a bit of a tricky one. One thing I'll throw on here for statistical stats. Historical stats. And there's been a lot of them this week that have popped up. Is in the Newcastle home fixtures for this game, the past 7 games, one team has always kept a clean sheet.
Right.
4 times Newcastle, 3 times Arsenal.
Yeah, and like Arsenal just look like a very kind of solid defensive side. Like you kind of look at the other big team like Liverpool and City and that, they're just like scoring goals and hope they don't concede as many. Whereas Arsenal look like they're like, don't concede and hopefully we score one kind of situation. Exactly. So for that reason, based on the number of clean sheets in this and the way that Arsenal have been playing, I don't mind those Arsenal defenders. Any sneaking into your side?
Yeah, I think pick whichever team you think is going to keep a clean sheet, and because I think there will be a clean sheet, select a defender from them. Don't know if you'd go as far as a goalkeeper. I'm tempted by Raya because, again, 50-50-ish game. It might be similar to the Man U round 1 game where Raya concedes shots, saves them, keeps the clean sheet, gets a huge score. So at the moment, I've got Donnarumma and I've got Roofs in. If I want to be risky, I might go Raya and Roofs. If I want to be safe, I might stick with what I got, or I might go Raya and Donnarumma.
Yeah. No, that's fair. But yeah, I think before like pre-season early on, we're talking a lot about Declan Rice as like maybe one of those players that could just do everything, but it kind of feels like he's almost just not quite doing enough of anything. Is that
the sucky thing for him is Zubamendi's like sort of taking the full defensive role, and like last week when he scored those 2, that's usually a Declan Rice thing from there, and then he's the one that popped up and did it. So I thought Rice would be particularly good in the 50-50 style games, but we've seen from all their 50-50 games this season, I think he's done well in any of them. Maybe at Liverpool he might have done all right, but
yeah, I think he's got one decent score, but everything else is just mediocre. One last thing with Arsenal, do we know who's on pens?
I'm pretty sure it's Saka, but maybe Yorikis takes over that now because he's like teams like him to strikers.
Yeah, no, cool. All right, and I think we've got one more, don't we? Yeah,
Tuesday game.
I think at 5 a.m. Monday.
Oh, okay,
possibly. But Everton, West Ham. So West Ham have been another one of those teams where you kind of tee up the fixture against them, and Everton, like we've been through probably a few times at the start, there's a lot of selectable players there. So I guess it kind of breaks or comes down to who or how many you're willing to pick. So Pickford's probably a decent option, I'd say, this week. Or have you
Yeah.
got some stats to prove me wrong?
I like Pickford. I like Tarkowski in this one. Like West Ham. Like I don't think there's too much statistical or historical stuff that's like screams not to pick them. Which probably means it's a decent idea given West Ham's like up and down form. If anything, it might just mean a few extra defensive stats for them if they do keep the clean sheet as well.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of, say, Dyer and Grealish selection dilemma, obviously they're different positions, I think, in GameDay squad. Do you try and carry both in, or do you lean towards one and not the other, or what
I think the fact that they're in different positions makes it easy to pick them. I struggle to pick two from the same team in the same position.
Yeah.
So makes it easy to get both in, and they tend to supply one another. It's almost as if they're just looking for one another when they're crossing or they're going into the box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's fair. I think I'm bringing both in this week. But we'll basically getting now to the team reveals. But first of all, we've got our five-a-side battle that we've been doing.
Yep.
I think that's next. Yes. So it's actually pretty tight in our five-a-side battle. For those who haven't been following, each week we pick 5 players to go up against each other. The catch is we can't pick the same player more than once in the season. So you got to kind of pick players for the right fixtures. The other catch is whoever loses the previous round, so who's kind of a bit behind, picks a player that the other player can't pick this round. So they basically veto someone for them. So these are our 2 lineups here. I guess we've basically talked through our selections because we've kind of talked about all these players through the matchups. But was there anyone who was close to making your team and didn't?
I had a fair few back. I feel like this round was pretty nice in terms of the top liners you could get a decent amount into. So like Truffaut, I could have gone Senesi, and like they're players that you can get out of the way, not like a Salah where you sort of want to hold him for the best possible fixture given his quality. Lukic, again, he was good in my stats, so I threw him in. Grealish is one where it's sort of like, given his form, I want to use him now in case there's a drop-off at any point.
Yep.
And then Doku, fixture's right for him, so chucked him in.
No, I really like your lineup. I've pulled my Haaland card this week just with a decent fixture. And I've also gone the Xavi Simons as well. Hopefully he gets the minutes that I'm thinking he will, because if he does, like, I don't know if you saw when he came on off the bench, he looked incredible.
Yeah, he's going through people shooting from angles people weren't shooting from.
Yeah, like he just looks like, I guess, brave enough to do those things that get you the goals, which is like, what you need. But yeah, so keep an eye on that, see how we go, and we'll report back next week. But quickly before we rip open some packs and give them away, we've just got our team reveals, and I've just realized how small they've shown up on the slide there. So maybe we'll quickly read them out for the viewers.
Yeah.
So up front, I've got Haaland, obviously, Dyer, Richarlison, and Salah. Salah's just in there because he's Salah, though. So I don't know if he will stay once I kind of think about a few options. He's on the cusp. I've then got Grealish, Kudus, Bruno, and Foden. And then Chalobah, Van Dijk, who's another one on the cusp, Porro, Tarkowski, and Vordio. And then Leno and Pickford in net.
Yeah. Nice team.
Your side is actually surprisingly different, I'd say, considering which is a good thing, obviously.
I think there'll be the nucleus of squads this week, unlike the last couple, because last couple was very, very like there's going to be heaps of different teams. I think there'll be a very similar mold of teams, and then there'll be a couple of different picks. So with mine, I've got Minte, Haaland, Richarlison, and Doku. I think Richarlison and Haaland will be two of the more obvious picks this week. I've just tossed Minte and Doku's some point of differences. Foden, Reinders, Bruno Fernandes, and Grealish. I'm playing it pretty safe with the Bruno Fernandes. He should accumulate points anyway. Grealish, good fixture and should. Pretty fixture proof. Reinders and Foden. If either of them drop out, it's going to be Foden, just to mix up the variety so it's not two from the same team. But I'm pretty comfortable at the moment, albeit I've got a fair few City players. So maybe it'll turn to one of Doku or one of Foden. I've then got Mulir, but it's Mukiele, technically. And then Porro, Trafford, Vardiol, Tarkowski. Porro might change to someone that like a Van Dijk, just to shore it up a little bit. Vardiol, I'll have a look at because I might end up taking him out if I think he's going to be subbed into someone else. But yeah, the rest of it pretty standard. Mukiele, I like the Sunderland matchup, so I've gone with him because I think he can play multiple spots. Less likely he gets rotated or subbed out. Royce and Donnarumma, so pretty safe and standard. Like Royce might be a bit of a surprise pick, but I think it's a bit safer. Like I said, I might swap that out and go with like a David Raya. I think your mic might be muted again, Mark.
I've done that again. Yeah, I feel like it hasn't been an issue in the past with using the same slide, but obviously it has, and we've just probably not addressed it. So we'll be fixing that next week.
Yeah.
But now is the time that probably a lot of people are here for, is the giveaway. So this week we're doing it slightly differently, where we are both going to rip open, together we're going to rip open 2 9-player All-Star packs for football, obviously, common ones. I'm going to pick a row, you're going to pick a row, and then the third row is going to be given away to someone. And we're going to do that twice. So everyone who's been engaged in the chat, you are entered. We've had Melissa in the background keeping a list. So what I'll do is I'll bring up the wheel. We'll find out who is going to be the winner, and then we'll rip open those packs.
Awesome.
So, Gannon, pick whichever one we don't pick, and then the second pack will be that one's twice. So, Janet, our friend Janet, will be taking the second one. So, what I'll do now is I will share my. All right. What I'll do is I'll do the good old refresh. Ooh, I haven't opened my starter packs. How good. But
let me know if you get a Mukiele.
All right. We'll open the first one here. Now, which row?
You go first. I'll go second for both.
Right, I want the bottom one because every time I think I've packed a legend recently, it's been in the bottom. So that's what I'm going for.
I'll go top.
Okay, so and this one will be for Gunners, gets the middle. Now, in theory, we could be giving away 6 All-Star cards this stream. So I'll open it up, then I'll change the resolution to make sure that it's 333, because it's obviously not because of my resolution. All right. So, do you want to open? We'll open yours first, then we'll do mine, and then we'll do Ganna's. So you were top.
Yep.
Starting off with a silver.
Yay.
Sexy. Next, we have a Ramsdale. And then another silver. Strand Larson. So, someone who should be an option, but probably won't be. We now go to mine. Now, I'm still yet to pack an All-Star after opening so many packs. And I know you've packed quite a few, so I don't feel too bad about you not getting one. But
yeah, let's hope some of the luck rubs off.
All right, so we've got a gold to start with at least. Nice. Okay, so no All-Stars to start with. Probably no one that great there, but middle row is the one that we're giving away. Guardians, I think I've got their legend card. Patterson and Livramento. Okay, so we actually finally got probably a playable card, I'd say there, which is great. So I'll take a screenshot of that actually now so I don't forget. And then we'll just jump into the last pack quickly, and then we'll get out of here and we'll jump in the chat and answer some more questions. But second pack. So which row do you, I picked this time? You picked this one?
I'll go top again.
You go top, I'll go bottom again, and then middle is going to our winner. So this one is going to Janet. So gold. The lag. Oh, Romero.
Awesome. Not bad.
Very nice. O'Neill.
And
no All-Star for you, unfortunately. And Keller. So for me, we've got Odegaard. Oh, he's done it. Is that the
Bowen? no, nice one.
No, that is my. I mean, it will come in handy. That is my first All-Star card. So
Insane.
Sorry to not be giving that one away, but also Janeth, I think you'll be fine. And Notto as well. Okay, I'm very happy with that.
He'll be great when he comes back from injury.
Exactly right. Iwobi.
Not bad.
Aya. And Diouf as well. Someone you're big on.
Hopefully a defensive position change next season because he'll be way more relevant.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there for now. So thank you everyone for joining in on the stream, getting in the chat. We will be jumping over in the Discord chat later to answer some questions if you've got selection dilemmas, anything like that. But yeah, once again, thanks for watching. Any final pieces of advice you've got there, Zonald, for the viewers at home?
Make changes when you're drunk tomorrow because it'll probably work well.
That's great. Cool. No, my advice is remember that lockout is 9:30 tomorrow. And from experience, after watching the grand final, 9:30 comes around very quickly. So make all your big decisions tonight and then change as much as you want when you're drunk. That's fine. But at least then you can't blame sober you.
Yeah, don't clear your team.
Don't clear your team.